Today I stand before you with a simple yet powerful idea, a call to action that could transform your life. The notion is this: learn to act as if you fear nothing. Mental resilience is a fundamental trait that determines how we respond to challenges, setbacks, and adversity. It is not about avoiding difficulties or pretending that they don't exist. Instead, mental resilience is the ability to adapt, overcome, and even thrive in the face of hardship. In essence, it is the inner strength that enables individuals to withstand pressure, recover from failure, and keep moving forward despite obstacles. One of the most important aspects of mental resilience is the understanding that life will inevitably throw challenges our way. The key to resilience lies not in the absence of difficulties, but in how we respond to them. When we develop a resilient mindset, we see setbacks not as permanent failures, but as opportunities for growth. This shift in perspective is crucial because it empowers us to view adversity as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Mental resilience involves maintaining emotional balance during times of stress. It is easy to become overwhelmed by negative emotions such as fear, frustration, or sadness when we are faced with difficult situations. However, resilient individuals understand that these emotions are temporary and do not define their entire experience. They have learned to manage their emotions effectively, allowing them to remain calm and focused even in the midst of chaos. This emotional control helps them make rational decisions, take purposeful action, and move forward with confidence. Another key element of mental resilience is the ability to embrace failure as a learning experience. Often we fear failure because we see it as a reflection of our capabilities, but resilient individuals understand that failure is simply part of the journey to success. Each setback is a lesson that provides valuable insights into what works and what doesn't. Instead of allowing failure to break them, they use it as a catalyst for improvement. They analyze what went wrong, adjust their approach, and try again with renewed determination. Finally, mental resilience is grounded in the belief that we have the power to shape our future, regardless of past experiences or current circumstances. Resilient individuals do not let external events or negative influences dictate their mindset. Instead, they choose to focus on what they can control: their thoughts, actions, and reactions. By harnessing this inner power, they are able to create their own path to success, regardless of the obstacles that stand in their way. In essence, mental resilience is not a fixed trait, but a skill that can be cultivated and strengthened over time. It requires practice, self-awareness, and a commitment to growth. Those who develop mental resilience find that they are better equipped to handle life's challenges and emerge from difficult situations stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. Fear is a natural response to the unknown or perceived threats. It is a primal emotion that has served humans well in evolutionary terms by protecting them from danger. However, in today's world, many of the fears we face are not life-threatening, but are rooted in our own perceptions, doubts, and anxieties. These fears, while real in our minds, often hold us back from reaching our full potential. The key to overcoming fear, then, is not by avoiding it, but by confronting it through action. The act of taking action in the face of fear can be transformative. It is only when we move forward despite our fears that we begin to dismantle the power they hold over us. The first step to overcoming fear through action is to acknowledge that fear exists, but it does not have to control us. Fear is often amplified by inaction. The longer we avoid doing something that scares us, the larger the fear seems to grow. When we take that first step, we break the cycle of paralysis that fear creates. Action serves as a counterforce to fear. When you move, you interrupt the negative thought patterns that fuel your anxiety. Even small actions can create a sense of accomplishment and momentum, gradually making the fear feel less overwhelming. Each time you act in the face of fear, you build confidence. You begin to see that the worst-case scenario, often imagined in our minds, rarely comes to pass. And when it does, you find the strength to handle it far better than you thought you could. Additionally, taking action helps you gain clarity. Fear thrives on uncertainty, and the more you avoid a situation, the more uncertain it becomes. Action, on the other hand, brings clarity. By taking a small step toward your goal, you get a clearer sense of what the situation truly entails. You begin to understand that much of your fear is based on false assumptions or exaggerated risks. The more you act, the more you realize that the worst is often not as bad as you imagined. One of the most powerful aspects of overcoming fear through action is that it builds resilience. As you face your fears head-on, you begin to strengthen your emotional and mental endurance. Each time you push through fear, you train yourself to stay calm and composed, even in situations that once felt overwhelming. This resilience becomes a critical tool for future challenges. Furthermore, when you act despite your fear, you send a message to yourself that you are in control. You are not a passive bystander in your life. You are actively shaping your experiences. Fear no longer dictates your decisions or limits your potential. Instead, you become the architect of your own path, no longer allowing fear to hold you back from achieving your goals. Through repeated action, fear loses its power and you gain a greater sense of mastery over your own life. Self-belief is the cornerstone upon which all achievements are built. Without belief in oneself, the pursuit of any goal becomes a daunting uphill struggle. It is the inner conviction that you have the ability to succeed no matter the obstacles that may stand in your way. At its core, self-belief is the understanding that you are capable of overcoming challenges, adapting to change, and achieving what you set out to do, regardless of setbacks or doubt. This belief doesn't necessarily mean having an inflated sense of confidence or thinking that success will come without effort. It means having a deep trust in your capacity to rise to any occasion and meet your goals with persistence and resilience. Self-belief is foundational because it shapes how you approach life. When you believe in yourself, you approach tasks with confidence and purpose. The way you perceive your abilities influences your decisions, your actions, and even the way others perceive you. People who carry a strong belief in themselves are more likely to take risks, pursue opportunities, and act decisively. They understand that every challenge is an opportunity for growth and that failure is not a reflection of their inadequacies, but a natural part of the journey to success. However, self-belief is not something that is automatically present. It is built over time through consistent actions and positive reinforcement. It starts with acknowledging your past achievements, no matter how small, and using them as evidence of your capability. Every success, every hurdle you've overcome serves as a building block for your self-belief. When you look back at these moments, you begin to realize that you are capable of much more than you initially thought. Another important aspect of self-belief is the understanding that self-doubt is a natural part of the process. It's easy to think that people who are successful have always been confident, but the truth is that doubt is a universal experience. What sets successful individuals apart is not the absence of doubt, but their ability to continue moving forward despite it. They recognize that doubt is temporary and doesn't define their potential. They choose to focus on their strengths and take proactive steps toward their goals, even when uncertainty creeps in. Building self-belief also requires learning to silence the negative voices, whether external or internal, that undermine your confidence. Often these voices come from past failures, societal pressures, or comparisons to others. However, those who cultivate strong self-belief learn to disregard these voices and trust their own judgment and abilities. They understand that their unique journey is theirs alone, and comparisons only hinder their progress. Ultimately, self-belief is not just about having a positive attitude. It's about developing a mindset that continuously reaffirms your ability to succeed. It's about consistently telling yourself, I can do this, and then taking action to make it happen. When you build a solid foundation of self-belief, you empower yourself to face any challenge with confidence and perseverance, knowing that no matter the outcome, you have the strength to learn and grow. The first step in turning fear into fuel is understanding its origin. Fear typically arises when we encounter something that challenges our sense of safety, security, or control. It's a natural, instinctive response to perceived threats. But in many cases, these threats are not as dangerous as our minds make them seem. By recognizing that fear is often a byproduct of our own thoughts and perceptions, we can begin to reframe our relationship with it. Rather than viewing fear as a warning to retreat, we can choose to see it as a signal that we are on the verge of something important, something that requires growth and courage. Turning fear into fuel requires action. When fear strikes, the natural response is often to freeze, hesitate, or procrastinate. However, when we choose to act in spite of fear, we begin to diminish its power. The more we take action, the less control fear has over us. Each small step forward weakens the grip of fear and strengthens our confidence. Action builds momentum, and the fear that once seemed so overwhelming starts to lose its intensity. In this process, fear transforms from a paralyzing force into a driving energy that pushes us toward our goals. Another powerful way to turn fear into fuel is by using it as a source of energy. When we feel fear, we experience a rush of adrenaline, a physiological response that prepares us for action. Instead of letting this energy go to waste, we can channel it into focused, productive action. This surge of energy can help us perform with greater intensity, focus, and determination. Fear in this sense becomes a form of natural fuel that drives us to excel. Furthermore, turning fear into fuel involves maintaining a mindset of resilience. Fear can make us doubt ourselves, but resilient individuals understand that fear is not a reflection of weakness. It is a sign that we are stretching our limits. When fear arises, they acknowledge it, but refuse to let it define their path. Instead of letting fear dictate their decisions, they use it as an opportunity to demonstrate their strength, perseverance, and commitment to growth. In doing so, fear becomes an integral part of their journey towards success, propelling them forward rather than holding them back. By shifting our perspective and choosing to act, we unlock the transformative power of fear. Rather than letting fear paralyze us, we can harness its energy and turn it into a force that drives us to achieve our greatest potential. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we experience, but more often than not, it is an illusion, an emotional construct created by our minds. While fear may feel real and overwhelming, it is frequently not based on the actual threat of danger, but on imagined scenarios, irrational beliefs, and past experiences. The concept of fear as an illusion is a powerful realization because it gives us the ability to deconstruct it, challenge its validity, and ultimately dissolve its hold over us. At the root of most fears is the mind's tendency to project into the future, to imagine worst-case scenarios that may never come to pass. This is often referred to as catastrophizing, the process of imagining the worst possible outcome of any given situation. The mind amplifies potential dangers, creating images of failure, rejection, or loss that feel as if they are inevitable. However, in reality, these scenarios rarely unfold as imagined. The mind's tendency to exaggerate the potential for harm is what gives fear its illusionary power. When we face the situation we fear, we often find that the reality is far less dire than anticipated. Another way fear operates as an illusion is through the lens of past experiences. Many of our fears are rooted in memories of past failures or traumatic events. Our minds hold on to these memories, creating a generalized sense of danger that may not apply to the present moment. For example, a person who experienced rejection in the past may develop a fear of putting themselves out there again, even though their current circumstances are entirely different. In such cases, fear is a product of the mind's interpretation of the past, not an accurate reflection of present risks. The illusion of fear also lies in the fact that it thrives on uncertainty. Fear often emerges in situations where the outcome is unknown, and the mind begins to fill in the blanks with negative possibilities. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it is not inherently dangerous. The mind's instinctive desire to seek certainty creates a sense of unease, which we often interpret as fear. When we recognize that uncertainty is a natural part of life, we can begin to separate the illusion of fear from the reality of the situation. Furthermore, fear is often a reflection of our internal beliefs and limitations. We fear what we believe we cannot handle. This belief in our own inadequacy creates a barrier between us and the opportunities in front of us. However, when we challenge these limiting beliefs and start to recognize our true capabilities, we begin to see that many of our fears are based on an outdated or distorted self-image. Fear becomes less about what we actually face and more about what we believe we are unable to overcome. Lastly, fear is often an illusion because it is fleeting. Although fear may feel intense in the moment, it is rarely permanent. Over time, we learn to confront and overcome what initially frightened us. The more we face our fears, the more we realize that they lose their power over us. We start to see them for what they truly are, temporary emotional reactions that don't define our potential. Understanding that fear is often an illusion opens up a world of possibilities. It allows us to approach challenges with clarity and confidence, recognizing that what once seemed insurmountable is merely a construct of our own minds. Fear is not the enemy. It is simply a signal from within, one that we have the power to reinterpret, diminish, and ultimately transcend. When we do so, we free ourselves to embrace life with courage, knowing that the greatest obstacles are often the ones we create in our own minds. The concept of mastering one's mindset is one of the most profound and transformative abilities a person can cultivate. Our mindset shapes every aspect of our lives, how we perceive challenges, how we respond to setbacks, and ultimately how we define our success. The mind is a powerful tool, capable of both creating and limiting possibility. Those who have learned to master their mindset know that they have the ability to influence their thoughts, emotions, and actions regardless of external circumstances. This mastery is not about suppressing negative thoughts or pretending that challenges don't exist. Rather, it is about taking conscious control over how we process and respond to the world around us. At the heart of mastering mindset is the understanding that thoughts are not fixed. Our beliefs, perceptions, and attitudes are shaped by the stories we tell ourselves. For example, when faced with a challenge, some may believe that they are not capable of overcoming it, while others may see it as an opportunity for growth. These internal narratives influence how we approach any situation, and ultimately how successful we are in navigating it. By recognizing that our mindset is flexible, we can change our internal dialogue and shift from a fixed mindset, one that is limited by fear and self-doubt, to a growth mindset, one that is driven by possibility, resilience, and determination. A fixed mindset believes that abilities and intelligence are static, that people are born with a certain level of talent or skill, and that failure is an indication of a permanent inability to succeed. Those with a growth mindset, on the other hand, believe that their abilities can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. When we master our mindset, one that sees failure not as a verdict on our abilities, but as a stepping stone toward improvement. This shift in thinking can transform the way we approach challenges. Rather than being discouraged by failure, we embrace it as part of the process, an opportunity to refine our strategies and deepen our understanding. Mastery over mindset also involves the ability to regulate emotions, particularly in stressful or challenging situations. Our emotions often arise in response to external stimuli, but how we react to those emotions determines our level of control over them. Emotions like fear, anger, frustration, or anxiety can cloud our judgment, increase stress, and reduce our ability to make clear decisions. However, mastering our mindset involves recognizing these emotions as natural yet temporary responses and understanding that we do not need to be slaves to them. With practice, we can learn to acknowledge and manage our emotional responses, allowing us to remain calm, focused, and composed even in the face of adversity. This emotional intelligence, the ability to stay present and balanced, is a critical component of mastering one's mindset. An essential aspect of mindset mastery is the development of self-awareness. Self-awareness allows us to understand our thought patterns, emotional triggers, and habitual responses to different situations. By examining our thoughts and behaviors, we can identify limiting beliefs or negative patterns that might be holding us back. For example, if we consistently tell ourselves that we are not good enough or that success is reserved for others, we can begin to challenge those beliefs. Self-awareness gives us the power to consciously replace self-limiting thoughts with empowering ones. This practice of observing and adjusting our internal dialogue is a powerful tool in shifting our mindset toward one of confidence, optimism, and resilience. One of the most profound ways to master your mindset is to take full responsibility for your life and your reactions. This means recognizing that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we have control over how we respond. External circumstances, whether they are challenging or disappointing, are beyond our control. However, how we choose to perceive and respond to those circumstances is entirely within our control. By taking responsibility for our reactions, we free ourselves from the victim mentality and recognize that we are the creators of our own experiences. When we adopt this mindset, we begin to see ourselves as empowered agents, capable of shaping our futures regardless of the obstacles we may encounter. Mastering one's mindset also requires discipline and consistent practice. It is not a skill that is developed overnight, nor is it a one-time shift. It requires a daily commitment to mindfulness, reflection, and positive reinforcement. It involves setting clear intentions, focusing on what we can control, and maintaining a sense of perspective when challenges arise. Over time, this practice becomes ingrained in our thinking, making it easier to respond to life with clarity and purpose. As we master our mindset, we create an internal environment that is conducive to growth, success, and well-being. In the end, the mastery of mindset is about reclaiming our power. It is about realizing that we are not victims of our circumstances, but active participants in the creation of our lives. When we take control of our mindset, we are no longer at the mercy of external events or internal self-doubt. Instead, we step into a place of strength, clarity, and purpose, where we are free to pursue our goals and dreams with confidence and resilience. In conclusion, mastering the ability to overcome fear, cultivate self-belief, and harness mental resilience can transform the way we approach life's challenges. By understanding that fear is often an illusion and that our mindset is a powerful tool, we can break free from limitations and reach our fullest potential. Action, fueled by self-confidence and a positive mindset, empowers us to confront adversity head-on. Ultimately, it is the mastery of our thoughts, emotions, and perceptions that enables us to move forward with courage, embrace growth, and create a life of purpose, success, and fulfillment.